Zakłamanie w mediach przechodzi ostatnio chyba wszelkie granice. I właśnie dlatego zacząłem się zastanawiać, dlaczego tak jest. Miałem kiedyś taki film. Przeszedł on niezauważony. Być może z powodu tego, że ludzie nie wiedzą, jakie wydarzenia doprowadziły do nagrania wypowiedzi osoby występującej w filmie. Otóż chodziło o śledztwo Izby Reprezentantów Wywiadu, przeprowadzone w latach 80. Do całej sytuacji nawiązuje także Chris Hedges w świetle wywiadu, jaki przeprowadził z byłym analitykiem CIA.
Welcome to the Chris Hedges Report. The CIA, from its inception, carried out assassinations, coups, torture, and illegal spying and abuse, including of U.S. citizens, many of which were exposed in 1975 by the Church Committee in the Senate and the Pike Committee in the House. Congress attempted to enact laws to curb the widespread criminal activity by the CIA.
Dane raporty powinny być ekstremalnie interesujące. Znaczy, wydaje mi się, że ludzie powinni się tym interesować, gdyż chodziło o zupełnie bez precedensu na skalę światową kontrolowane ujawnienie wobec opinii publicznej działalności organów wywiadowczych. Oczywiście nie kompromitując tych organów wywiadowczych, tak? Jeżeli to nie jest interesujące, to nie wiem, co jest interesujące. Zawarto w tym filmie m.in. informacje o tym, jak to opinia społeczna na całym świecie jest oszukiwana i jak wielu dziennikarzy pełni rolę jedynie tub propagandowych.
Someone that could pass a story to the people who might appear to the outside world to be a reporter for CBS was in fact a CIA employee getting a salary from the CIA, and that was repeated thousands of times all around the world. They also owned outright the CIA at that time about 250 or more media organizations. That's wire services, newspapers, magazines, radio, TV stations all around the world that they owned outright. The actual shareholder of the company turned out to be some CIA fronts. Unfortunately, we did not name very many of these organizations because those that got named, of course, had to close down immediately. But it was learned that even things like the Rome Daily American, which is a major English language newspaper in Rome, for 20, 30 years have been owned by the CIA. This was published because the paper closed the next day. But most people didn't realize the extent of the intelligence media organization is fairly incredible. They sort of brag about it. When you read the books about the history of the CIA, one of the heroes was the first man in charge of media operations, a man named Frank Wisner, and they referred to his organization as the Mighty Wurlitzer. And there's this image of this guy sitting at one of the giant organs, with 17 keyboards, and you're playing this sort of like the Phantom of the Opera in that scene. And there was the guy running the CIA media operations all around the world. And he really was, because every single city of any size on Earth, he had some employee who was supposedly working for a newspaper or a magazine or a radio station or a wire service. And they could get...
No dobrze, w porządku. Każdy może się mniej więcej z tym zgodzić, że w jakimś tam stopniu można naginać informacje dla jakiegoś dobra wywiadu, państwa czy jakiejś sprawy, tak? I ktoś trzyma na tym pieczę. Ale to wszystko ma swoje granice, tak? Ja uważam, że te granice dobrego smaku i bezczelności w mediach, w szczególności w czasach obecnych, nie mogą być już bardziej nachalne. Tak by się wydawało, każdego dnia człowiek się tak przekonuje, nie, już osiągnęli maksimum. Ale jednak każdego dnia może się przekonać, że jednak mogą być bardziej bezczelni. Z każdym dniem ludzie udający dziennikarzy są właśnie coraz bardziej tacy. Bezczelni. Ale w sumie dlaczego? Być może zostały zdjęte jakieś ograniczenia, jakieś kontrole i nadzór. Może kiedyś było inaczej. Chris Hedges oraz były pracownik CIA, Kuriaki, uważają, że to właśnie miało miejsce. Ową tamą, która pękła, było zniszczenie wież World Trade Center.
Criminal activity by the CIA. Senate and House Intelligence Oversight Committees were created, and after the Iran-Contra scandal, a statutory inspector general at the CIA was appointed. But this oversight largely collapsed following the attacks of 9/11 and the so-called War on Terror. The activities of the CIA have once again reverted to the shadows. The CIA, at the same time, has transformed itself into a paramilitary organization with its own armed units and drone program. The U.S. allocates a secret black budget of about $50 billion a year to hide multiple types of clandestine projects carried out by the National Security Agency, the CIA, and other intelligence agencies, usually beyond the scrutiny of Congress.
Did at the very start of his presidency was he initiated something called a cull. So he ordered the CIA to identify every recruited asset who had some sort of a human rights problem in his background and to fire that source, right? Throw him off the payroll, no more meetings, no more talking. We're not dealing with human rights violators. And I remember my bosses laughing in the beginning, like this is never, ever going to work. And sure enough, fully 1/3 of the CIA's recruited assets were fired in that call. And for all those 8 years of the Clinton presidency, there really was respect for human rights. It was something that nobody thought would work. It actually did work. But then, and I hate to keep repeating myself, 9/11 hit. And then all the rules just went right out the window. Before 9/11, the whole purpose of operations was to gather intelligence. You implemented an operation because it was going to provide you with a new line of information. Because the job of a CIA officer is to recruit spies to steal secrets. And then you pass those secrets to the analysts so that they can provide the best possible analysis to the policymakers to make the best possible policy. In a perfect world, that's why the CIA exists. But that changed after 9/11. So you've got a handful of analysts now. We talk all the time about the CIA's operational failures. Those are very well documented. Legacy of Ashes is one of the best books I've ever read. But what we don't talk about is the CIA's analytic failures. And if you go back really to the founding of the CIA in 1947, they've either missed or gotten the analysis wrong.
Tak, zgadzam się z byłym analitykiem CIA i tak zwanym whistleblowerem, że wszystkie informacje wywiadowcze CIA były błędne. Może dochodzić podejrzenie, że celowo wprowadza się opinię publiczną w USA w błąd. Gdy zobaczy się historię powstania CIA, to można domyśleć się, dlaczego tak było i jak mniemam, wciąż jest. O tym postaram się zrobić następny filmik.
On every major event. I mean, we can go back to the Suez crisis. We can go back to the Berlin airlift, through the Iraq war and everything that came after it. They're wrong about everything. And there's never a price to pay for that. They just move on to the next crisis and then get that wrong.
Well, my favorite obsession is they trot out what the cardinal in Prague who's been, of course, worked over to say what the communist regime wants him to say, and everybody in the CIA thinks that the Soviets have figured out the drugs for mind control, which sends them off on, dropping even to their own agents, giving them LSD tabs, some of whom jump out of hotel windows and kill
Yes.
themselves. Steve Kinzer wrote a good book on this called Poisoner in Chief. But I think that's what comes when there's no accountability, and also the kinds of figures, Dulles, these are very problematic people.
Oh, problematic people who do not have the country's best interests at heart. Dulles is probably the best example of this. Dulles saw the CIA as his own fiefdom. And what
Co do Allena Dullesa, dyrektora CIA, to także mam film o rycerzach maltańskich i to wyjaśnia dokładnie słowa byłego pracownika CIA, że Alan Dulles, który był rycerzem maltańskim, nie działał na korzyść USA. Był on obywatelem innego państwa suwerennego zakonu rycerzy maltańskich. A co najlepsze, to następny dyrektor CIA i także następny po nim także byli rycerzami maltańskimi.
Dulles saw the CIA as his own fiefdom. And what President Eisenhower wanted from him was immaterial. He and his brother colluded and conspired on myriad operations and foreign policy issues, and they didn't care what Eisenhower had to say about it.
Well, they were just gangsters for Wall Street, weren't they?
That's exactly what they were.
Yeah.
Brzmi to co najmniej interesująco, jeśli nazywają rycerzy maltańskich gangsterami, którzy służą dla Wall Street. No, skoro tak mówią, to nie będę zaprzeczał. Biblia mówi o tym zjawisku jako kupcy wielkiej nierządnicy. Taki jest termin w Apokalipsie Jana. Ale to tak na marginesie. Zobaczmy jeszcze, dlaczego jest ta kultura wprowadzona, która zabrania mieć inne zdanie, że wszyscy muszą mieć jedną linię partyjną i wszyscy muszą wałkować cały czas to samo, inaczej będziesz wyklętym teoretykiem spiskowym albo foliarzem i temu podobne. Ruskim agentem.
mean, after all, conspiracy just means, more than one person being involved in something. If you stop and think about it, almost everything significant that happens anywhere involves more than one person. Yet here, there is not a myth really, but there's just an underlying assumption that most things are not conspiracies. And when you have that, it enables a government which has a propaganda program, has a disinformation program, to be relatively successful in having this disinformation accepted. The other reason why it works, even though, as we know, there are somewhere there are people who know it's not true, somewhere they know they're lying about something. But another reason it works is that disinformation is very, very effective over time. The longer that you, where you are, can control the spin on the story, the more that spin becomes accepted as the absolute truth. And in this country, the government has a great deal of power and influence over that spin. Why is it so effective over time? Well, this is an area where
Good
I
question.
had to consult with other experts because it turns out really to be a neurological function. And I was supposed to explain to me by a professor at Harvard Medical School, and it has to do with the way the human brain remembers things, the way we learn things, the way we create patterns and
Patterns.
associations and
Cycles.
well, it's sort of like channels in the brain, and when certain things trigger certain collateral thoughts.
Wow.
And when you associate one thing with another over time, just the mention of the one brings the association of the other. What this sometimes means is that even when something is later exposed as a lie, if it was accepted as the truth for a long time, the exposure of it as a lie is not believed. It's in one ear and out the other. The best example that we know in my field is one that John Stockwell reported on. He was a CIA officer in Angola, for Angola, but they were based, the CIA station was based in Congo. And when the Cuban troops were sent in to help the Angolans fight the South Africans during the early and mid-70s, the CIA's task was to try to discredit the Cubans and do whatever it could to make people around the world think it was a terrible thing that the Cubans were helping the Angolans. And Stockwell's group in Congo sat down and one guy says, let's think of something terrible we can say that the Cubans did. And another guy says, hey, why don't we say they're raping Angolan women? That'd be a great thing to say. The other guy says, terrific, and they call in their media experts, and they start sitting there at their desk at the CIA office and they start typing out these news stories about how a group of Cubans
CIA typing out news stories.
soldiers raped a bunch of Angolan women in some operation. And then they write story number 2, which is that the villagers got incensed and decided they didn't want the Cubans anymore and they were going to find the soldiers that did it and arrest them. And story number 3, the villagers captured the Cubans. Story number 4, they were tried and by a jury of the women victims, and they were later executed with their own weapons. And they made a series of about 12 newspaper stories in a row. And with one phone call and one visit, it went over the wire services, it went into Europe, it went into the United States, it went around the world. And for about a 6-month period, there were all these stories about horrible Cuban rapes in Angola. And what that does is when you hear, the average person hears Angola,
Average person.
they'll think rape of the women.
You sheep.
If you hear rape of women, they'll think Angola Cubans. If you hear Angola, they'll think Cubans and rape of the women. And these patterns build up so that becomes the truth embedded in
Years of conditioning.